This is North Georgia's News Talk.
WDUN. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire.
6 minutes after 7 o'clock. Game On continues, folks. Happy to have you here with us as we start hour number 2. Have you heard this one? Stop me if you have. Middle school student in Gaffney, South Carolina has been disciplined after admitting to spiking an opposing basketball team's Gatorade cooler with a cap full of bleach. That's not a good prank. Though burning lips and upset tummies were reported by students who drank from the cooler, no one required medical attention. The perpetrator was apparently identified after he bragged about it in text messages to friends. Who? He bleached the Gatorade. The student reportedly told authorities he didn't want to harm anyone, so his chemistry teacher should probably be fired. I read that straight from Deadspin. That is not a KDB joke. I wish that was a KDB joke. I would take full credit for it if it was. However, it is not. National Signing Day, a week from today, folks. A lot of things happening in this area, whether you're a fan of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, wherever you're a fan of, or if you're a fan of high school football and interested to see where guys in this area are going to go. Let's get some insight. David Schuman joining us via the phone now. He's the founder of National Underclassmen Combine. It's the largest and most successful football recruiting showcase in the country. Folks, over 6,000 D1 athletes have gone through the program, including over 350 All-Americans. I could brag on him for days, but let's get some commentary from him before I continue with my braggadociousness. David, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I hope you're well.
I'm doing very well. Glad to be on.
Fantastic. Listen, David, first and foremost, I want to ask you about the colleges in our area, and more specifically, Georgia, Georgia Tech. Rank Georgia's recruiting class as it stands right now.
Georgia will probably end up with a top 10 recruiting class, which has been par for the course for the last few years. They've done a great job of getting top players. Every once in a while they lose a few here and there, but, you know, that's going to happen. You're competing in the SEC. But, I mean, they just got Sony Michel is one of the, the top guys in their class, and Isaiah Wynn. They have some top guys that are coming in, super big-time prospects that'll have an impact right away.
The last couple of weeks, coaches have been on the road, the last push for recruiting, and obviously right before this last push began, Georgia hired defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt. In your opinion, how big of a role will he have played come National Signing Day these last 2 weeks in getting recruits to come to Georgia that maybe were on the fence or even committed somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, most of Georgia's class is almost filled. But you're looking for one or two star guys to maybe flip, and he definitely is a guy that can have an impact from that standpoint. They have to improve their defense. They had to do something to make a difference from a defensive standpoint, and then they've gone out and done that. So if there were players that were considering them before but then went away that are on the defensive side, it's more likely to maybe look at them and if they haven't already. But most of their class is pretty set.
Let's move to Georgia Tech now. Georgia Tech has to be very specific in its recruiting because of the type of offense that they run, the triple option. What do you think about what Paul Johnson has done for this recruiting class?
It's consistent. It goes along with the classes that he's been bringing in. Maybe not quite as top-notch as he had a couple of years ago. But again, they are looking for a specific type of player, especially from an offensive side of the ball. So it's somewhat difficult to evaluate on the offensive side what kind of impact some of the guys will have, because the biggest impact will be some of the players that they get on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive line. And I think they did a good job of getting they got a defensive end, Michael Preddy, South Carolina, Tyler Merriweather out of Demopolis, Alabama. And they got an outside linebacker, Keyshawn Freeman from Georgia, right there from Callaway. So they did a good job on the defensive side of the ball, getting players. I think that's an area where they have to continue to do it. And then offensively, they got guys that can have an impact, but they may not be, names that people really know about. The one name that I think stands out from an offensive standpoint is the running back from North Gwinnett, C.J. Leggett.
Oh, yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one. We've been following him throughout his high school career, and definitely going to be a fun one to watch at the next level. On that same note, David, who are some of the other prospects from this area that you can point to? Is it a Corey Rogers? Is it a Lorenzo Carter, a CJ Leggett you can point to and say, boy, they're going to make a big impact on the D1 level?
Well, one of the interesting things from the state of Georgia that you got 100 and I think this year there'll be somewhere around 180, 190 recruits that are coming out of the state of Georgia that will have an impact. Some of the top guys that are going to have an impact are guys that are going to the University of Georgia. So it's a state that year in and year out has all kinds of top players. If I were to go right down the line, the biggest name that people may know is Lorenzo Carter, the defensive end from Norcross. He's a huge name. He's still uncommitted at this point. Sonny Michel, I just mentioned him. He's not from Georgia, but he's going to University of Georgia, so he's going to have a big impact in the state of Georgia. From the state of Georgia, you're talking about Raekwon McMillan, inside linebacker. He's an excellent player from Liberty County. I've seen him live. He's a huge inside linebacker. And then Nick Chubb, running back out of Seartown, Georgia. He's a guy that's probably going to have an impact right away. And, of course, he's going to the University of Georgia. He was an All-American, I think, played in the U.S. Army game.
I tell you what, Bulldog fans in our listening audience right now getting pretty hyped up by all these names you're saying, followed by going to the University of Georgia. Folks, National Signing Day a week from today. We're talking with founder of National Underclassmen Combines, David Schuman. Listen to this. Last year, 1,000 alumni of the combines he runs announced where they would play their NCAA football. The man knows what he's talking about, knows what he's doing. I want to stay with Lorenzo Carter, the defensive end from Norcross. Gut feeling. You know the schools that are vying for him, the schools who are trying to get his attention. Gut feeling, David, who's he going to go with come next Wednesday?
Well, Georgia is in the lead, so he's one. We talked about the impact of having a defensive coordinator. That is the kind of guy. Jeremy Pruitt is the kind of guy that could sway him. And I believe he's visiting Georgia this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's going to be a huge thing. I think he has Georgia purposely at the end of his visitation schedule so he can come out of there and decide, do I want to go to Georgia or do I not? Georgia fans may not want to hear this, but who else is vying for him? National champs Florida State, LSU, who every single year has a fantastic program, Florida, and Alabama. So Alabama's really not – I don't think they're going to be in the mix. But I believe that it's going to be Georgia, Florida State, or LSU that he's going to make his choice through.
David, if you will, and we've only got a couple more questions as we continue our conversation with you. Who, top three colleges right now where recruiting classes are concerned? Who's 1, 2, 3 in your mind?
I think it's going to change a little bit in the next couple of days. So I'm saying this with a little bit of hesitation. But Alabama is definitely a team that's in the top three. You're talking not over and up. Texas A&M is in the top three. And then most people have Florida State in the top three. So right now, as far as that, it stands from what I see going on, and it's definitely going to change with some of these guys. And today, I may have missed it, but a couple of guys committed today. That could change some things. And usually signing day in the last few days, some crazy things happen that change rankings. But those three have been up towards the top.
And finally, I want to ask you about a young man who is graduating this year but is already enrolled at Clemson University. And if you know recruiting around the nation, if you know high school football around the nation, you have to know the name Deshaun Watson, number one dual-threat quarterback according to ESPN.com, number one quarterback in the nation if you ask a lot of people around here, but has already enrolled in Clemson with Taj Boyd out of the picture. Do you see this young man making an impact as a freshman at Clemson?
He'll have a chance to right away. I mean, his skill sets are unique. I've seen him since he was a freshman at our camps. He's the kind of player. I mean, he's I think he's been 6'3" for quite a while. I remember him being 6'3" back when he was 15. So, he's the kind of guy that's going to have an impact right away. He's a guy that you have to take a look at. I think Clemson will, with Taj Boyd leaving. That does leave a void at the quarterback position, and then in turn an opportunity for Deshaun Watson to make an impact. He's a guy that really can do it all. You guys have probably been talking about him in Georgia for the last 3 years. So, and he's going to be with an offensive coordinator that is fantastic, and Chad Morris, and so it's a kind of situation where he's walking into a great one for him.
All right, David, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Please tell our listening audience where they can find out more about you, about the National Underclassmen Combines.
Yeah, very simply, you can go right to nucsports.com. We have all of our events listed there, including we run a ton of events in Georgia, our 5-star, which is invite only, and then, of course, our combine showcase, especially for the young athletes. The most important thing is to get tested and get evaluated right away. You want to be the next Deshaun Watson. That's how he did it. That's how thousands of kids have done it before, and you go to nucsports.com and find out more.
I appreciate your time so much. Have a good last week before National Signing Day. Hope we can catch up with you again soon.
Absolutely. It's a hectic one.
I know it is. Thank you so much, David. Have a great night. Oh, that's fantastic. You know, before we go to our break, I get so excited, really, about everything. If you've ever listened to Game On, I'm quite an excitable human being. But I get so excited when I think about young people signing college scholarships. And here's why. In that moment, when you sign, and supposedly the next 4 years of your life are dictated. You know where you're going. You know what. There is a moment of unadulterated, pure, innocent bliss. Because you've worked hard enough to get to the point to catch the eye of a college. You're going to a college, and you don't yet know what it's like to be a college athlete, because that is a tough life. It's a good life. It's a blessed life, but it is a tough life. And that few minutes of unadulterated, innocent bliss, the twinkle in these young people's eyes, and I'm not kidding you when I say that, makes it worth it to see any national signing ceremony. Whether they're going to Piedmont College, Presbyterian College, or Penn State. It is a fantastic thing to witness. And over the course of the next week, we're going to be talking to, during Game On, a lot of athletes from our area that are signing those scholarships. Their conversations you're not going to want to miss, folks. When we come back, Morton Anderson, longtime kicker for both the Falcons and Saints, came out and said that he would like another kicker. There's only one. Like another kicker to be in Canton. And then our little game of why fill in the blank shouldn't. You're not going to want to miss the next 45 minutes of Game On, folks, on WDUN.